Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate all of you so very much. So today I thought I would do a video going over the top 10 palettes in my collection that really scream fall to me. You guys, some of these are not available anymore mainstream, you know, purchasing ways from Sephora or Ulta or even the brand's website, but they are still available on like Poshmark, Mercari, the secondhand shops, and I did see a lot of them that are new in box. You can purchase them that way. I just wanted to make sure that I got out there, if these are palettes that you own, that you remind yourself that this is an awesome fall tone palette that you don't really need to go purchase more. The first one I knew was going to be on top of mind in this collection is the ABH Subculture. I do know that this isn't available anymore for sale. It was really a palette that kind of got shit on here on the YouTubes, and I had to tell you, I didn't have the problems with it that a lot of bigger YouTubers that I saw reviews from had. This is a palette I was so excited for. I picked it up the day it launched on the ABH website. I didn't even wait to get points from it from Ulta or Sephora. But this is what it looks like, and I just really love it. You have these beautiful grungy tones. These yellows are amazing, mustard yellows. I don't think both of them needed to be in this palette, to be honest. Beautiful shimmers. There are only 3 in this palette, so it is a mostly matte palette. This one is kind of like a duochrome white to pink, like holographic type look. This one, I believe, is probably the standout, as well as this one. Those are what those two look like. One of them's kind of like a sheer green red toned shade, and then the other one is just a really beautiful copper tone. I believe that you can get some amazing eye looks out of this. It does come with a set of problems, like some of these shades don't like to play well with other shades, and I do have a palette roulette on this palette, so I will go ahead and link my palette roulette series down in the card, or maybe this video in particular. I think I have a palette roulette on almost all the palettes I'm talking about. But if you could pick this one up, or if you have it in your collection, it's well worth having in your collection. It is just a really amazing fall palette. And I would be remiss if I did not mention this one in conjunction with that one, because this is a drugstore version, and it is the Sleek Makeup Under a Spell palette. And when I did the palette roulette on this, I remember commenting how much I thought it reminded me in color story of the Subculture palette. There are some differences, obviously, and this is a drugstore version. And looking at the Sleek website, it still shows up on there, but I'm just not sure if it's still for sale, because I can't find any way to really add it to my cart. So there's that. Sleek has 2 different websites. They have a UK website and a USA website, and I'm not sure that this one is still for sale. I do know that this in the UK does have a different name. Again, this is a palette that I did a palette roulette on, and I will link that down below. It has a different name, and that is mentioned in that video if you are some of my UK friends. This is a beautiful palette. This palette actually shocked me, because I didn't think it was going to be as amazing as it was when I first opened it up and looked at it. It is a palette that only cost me $7. So did I think it was going to give Subculture a run for the money? No. Do I think I need both? Probably not. And this might be one that goes in my declutter, but this was an amazing palette. This blue here, probably my favorite one to use in this palette. I created so many eye looks with these 2 shades right here. I mean, look at the pigmentation of those. And this is a $7 palette. I could not mention Subculture without mentioning this one, so this is kind of like a bonus. This was supposed to be a top 10, but I do have 2 extra palettes in here. The next one I want to talk about is the ABH Jackie Aina palette. This one, you guys, is still for sale on Beauty Bay. I did see it on there. I don't know. I don't think it's at Ulta anymore. I don't think that it's at Sephora or on the ABH website, but I only got far enough to make sure that you could still pick this up. This is the color story of this one. I cannot tell you how amazing this palette is. Probably my favorite ABH palette ever, like hands down. And honestly, the color story in this pairs so well with the color story in Subculture. Like, I just think these two palettes pair so well together. They have the hits and misses from each palette that each palette really needs to make a perfect palette. I think that these two color stories just amazingly speak to each other. The only thing is the Subculture palette, like I said, does come with its share of problems, and it doesn't play kindly with others sometimes. This palette can stand alone on its own. Again, you've got these grungy, like really deep, grungy, dirty colors in here, but you have some pops of color that just bring the look together. And this one here, oh, look at that. That is so pretty. You guys will see I steer towards like greens for whatever reason. It's not a color I like to wear on my eyes, but I do steer towards greens. And these purples, this purple, it's so soft in the pan, but look at this. Holy cow. It's just so pretty. So if I haven't talked you into getting it yet, know that there are a ton of us on the YouTubes that will tell you that this is probably the most amazing ABH palette. Everybody loves this palette. I don't think that it got the hype that it deserved, because this, I believe, was the last one before Norvina started putting out her palettes, and it was just like rocket fire palette afterwards. So I don't think that it got the hype that it deserved. Right after this came out, so did Carly Bible. Neither one of them got the hype that they deserve. So one of my favorite fall palettes for sure. Speaking of Norvina, one of the palettes that I gravitate towards during the fall is this one here. It is only the second fall that this has really been in my collection. This is the Pro Pigment Volume 3. It was the last one of hers to come out, the last large one during that small short time frame. She has since launched another one, so there's that. But this is what this palette looks like. And if this doesn't scream fall, I just don't know what palette does scream fall. This one, I do believe, is still available for sale, and it has got some amazing fall looks, wanting to really just jump off of these shades. These palettes aren't the easiest ones to really get to work for you if you're rather new to makeup, but I didn't really have a problem with them, and there are so many beautiful tones of, like, it just reminds me of fall leaves. It just reminds me of leaves falling from the trees, turning different shades while they're on the trees. This is exactly what this palette screams to me. And I do know that that has been something that has been talked about on the YouTubes, is this was just the quintessential fall palette. It couldn't have come out at a better time, honestly. Another one that I want to talk about, it's quite possibly the most expensive. It is the most expensive one that I'm talking about, and that is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. You guys, when I first saw this palette, I was like, there's no reason for me to get this palette. I don't even like those colors, but this is fall in a box as well. It's got the really pretty golds, it's got the greens, it's got the dark teals that could just be any other shade, and it's got this really solid baseline of beautiful brown tones that just pair so well with everything else. This mustard gives me life. This is the best mustard shadow ever. It looks kind of brown on my finger, but it really is a very pretty mustard shadow. I think that this is $129 of worth it, honestly. Again, it wasn't a palette I was going to pick up. I looked at it, I saw nothing but boring, honestly, but I am so happy to have this in my collection. They are all just beautiful, and they work so beautifully together. Second most expensive, I think, is this one. It is the Viseart Dark Mattes palette. These Viseart palettes are pretty cheap, honestly, in like packaging. I wish they were a little bit more elevated considering the fact that you pay a grip ton of money for these palettes. I did get the 2 Viseart palettes that I have on a buy 2 get 2 by Friends Beauty, I think it was, or some beauty warehouse shopping center thingamajigger that I bought it from. So I didn't pay the $80 a piece for each one of these palettes. I think I roughly paid $60. This is 12 really dark, really beautiful, really fall tone mattes that are staples in my collection. Yeah, I could never get rid of this palette unless of course the shades were bad, because I just can pull some mattes out of my bucket of palettes that I don't think I have in many other palettes, and these shadows are fantastic. If you haven't tried Viseart shadows yet, their mattes are amazing. I'm not a huge fan of their shimmers, but they have a plethora of different palettes that you can choose from, and also different price points. They've started making smaller Viseart palettes that fall into a lesser price point, but they're like 6 shadows for $45. So I'd rather spend, you know, $80 and get 12. But this just really, again, reminds me of fall leaves. I think that you can agree those are definitely fall tones. What I love about this palette too is that each tone is a pair. So there's a darker and a lighter version of the same like color story. So there's that. So one I wanted to mention, and then also had a problem not adding in the pair, so this is another honorable mention really, is the Melt Muerte palette and the Melt Vita palette. I have a hard time putting these into a video without putting them in together, because they really are made to be together. And these 2 palettes came out last year for holiday by Melt Cosmetics, and this one really screams fall to me, but it also kind of has a summer vibe. But when paired with the Muerte palette, like, I feel like these 2 palettes are just fall perfection. One of them leans fall but a little more winter. The other one leans fall but a little more summer. I think that they together are fall perfection. You have the dark tones, you have the brighter tones, you have anything that you need to create an amazing eye look. So we're going to pretend this is one palette, because I have a hard time using them separately from each other. Where one red in a palette might fail, the other red can deepen up a look. This one has the blues in it that I want. This one has the browns in it that I want. I really just feel like these 2 palettes are perfection for fall. They were limited edition holiday versions for Melt Cosmetics. The next palette I have is this. It is the Violet Voss Like a Boss. And you know, I did recently do a palette roulette on this palette, and I don't think that I realized how fall this palette was until I did that palette roulette. Again, this is the Like a Boss palette, and this is what the inside of it looks like. You guys, we have some beautiful neutral tones that you can pull off any kind of eye look, and then all of these beautiful fall colors. Like, even this one here, even though it sits on the neutral side, it does have like a duochromy green to gold to reddish brown kind of thought process to it, so it could very much fall into the other half of the palette where we have all these beautiful fall tones. But this is a really beautiful palette, especially for those that really like a neutral eye and are afraid of color. You can pop in these different colors in here and it still looks very neutral but becomes very colorful all at the same time. Violet Voss has one of my favorite formulas for eyeshadows. They just perform so easily. They are so nice, and you could pop any one of these colors into your crease and just call it a one and done eye look. Her shimmers perform amazing. Her mattes perform amazing. She is one of my favorite formulas for eyeshadows. So I couldn't go through this video without including this palette. And also because a lot of you did say when I did the palette roulette that this reminded you very much of a beautiful fall toned palette. This green right here, also beautiful. It just has a lot of those grungy colors that you think of when you move into doing your makeup for fall. I, of course, wear whatever I want to wear. But if you're looking for fall vibes from a palette, this is perfection. It is not that expensive. You do get, what, 20 shades in here for $45. I think that's just over $2 per pan, and these pans are really big. So the last two palettes I have here, one is limited edition. You can't hardly get it anymore. You might be able to pick it up at TJ Maxx, and that is where I got it. But with that being said, they also have another one that they came out with this year that I know my friend Lisa is super, super fond of, and it looks very similar except for that it does have a couple pops of purple, but it is the Too Faced Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette. These are in tin packaging, and Too Faced is not my favorite formula, but this is a beautiful fall toned palette. It smells so good, and the one that they have this year has very similar color story. In fact, I'll put it up here, but it's a very similar color story. The biggest difference is the one this year does have like some pops of purple and maybe a little bit less warm than this one, but still a very, very fall palette. This, again, Too Faced is not my favorite formula, but I really do love this palette when it comes to the fall nature of these tones. I love this little pop of like hot pink in here. I didn't have the best time with this palette, but I know that there are a ton of people out here that loved this palette. I also know that there are a ton of people out here that love the Too Faced formula. It's not my favorite. I don't feel like it's as pigmented as it could be, but it is a really easy palette to play with. So if you're new to makeup, Too Faced has probably got the easiest higher end formula that you can find, and you can build it up, and a lot of people appreciate that. I want pigmentation right off the bat. A lot of people prefer being able to build a color up to its intensity that they want. And the last one that I wanted to put in here is one that I really haven't used. I just got it. I don't even know if you guys have seen me haul this in yet. It is one that a lot of people here on the YouTube have. It is the Ace Beauté Classico Paradise palette. This is what it looks like inside. You guys, I did pick this up in an edit sale for FabFitFun sheerly because of the fall nature of this palette. Like, this is just such a stunning palette. This yellow shimmer, I'm excited to try. I love a great olive eyeshadow, and even though I am not a fan of greens on me personally, I do have a lot of green in my collection, and I love olive. I love olive, so I can't wait to pair that with that yellow shimmer. Yes. And just the names of these, like Harvest, Clay, Mineral, Hay, Golden Apple, Maze. Like, it screams fall over and over and over again. And this is a more affordable palette, so is a more affordable version of a fall palette. So that's all I have for you. I hope that you guys did enjoy this video. I do know that there were several palettes that I talked about that you can't purchase anymore, but I do know that many of those palettes that you can't purchase anymore on their creators website, you can purchase on Mercari and Poshmark. It's just really good to get on there and look once in a while. You can get some stuff for real super cheap and in really great condition. And Cinema Secrets makes a makeup sanitizer that you can buy if you are, you know, conscious about the fact that we are in a pandemic and you don't want to use used makeup. You can buy a sanitation spray from Cinema Secrets, and it's phenomenal. I also know that, like this one, Too Faced comes out with a very similar palette every single year, so even if you can't get this one, the one that they have out this year is also pretty spectacular. My friend Lisa loves it. So I hope that you enjoyed going over the palettes that I have in my collection that scream fall to me. I hope that you guys liked this video, and I hope that if you did, you're considering giving it a big thumbs up. It really does help our channels out here, and it's totally free to do. I also hope that you liked it, or me, enough that you're considering subscribing subscribing to my channel before you go. If you do that, please don't forget to hit the notification bell. I upload 3 to 4 times a week, depending on the week, and I wouldn't want you to miss anything, and that bell's going to ensure that you don't. I thank you guys so much for coming to my channel. I hope that you'll leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite fall palettes are. If I've missed one that's one of your favorites, please list it down there. I would love to know. Let everybody else know too what's amazing about it and which palette it is and where we can pick it up. I hope that you guys are staying well out there, that you and yours are safe and sound. I also hope that we're masking up, because we're never going to get out of this crazy if we aren't masking up every single time we're out and about. I hope that you guys are loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, guys, bye.